Welcome back to Faye's Place, a podcast where dreamers have the liberty to dream. I'm your host, Phaedra, and I am so excited that we have this time to dream together. Have you ever turned on the radio and instantly fell in love with the song? If you're anything like me, that song leads to you researching the artist, and this leads you to discovering a new world of music. Now, you're a fan. Today's guest has a hand in that. I know you probably haven't thought about how songs make it from the studio to the radio and into certain markets, but it's a key part in the music business. Ranked as number 3 on the National Association of Gospel Radio's End of the Year Report 2025, and working with high-profile artists like Kiara Sheard, Jacqueline Carr, and Smokey Norfolk, just to name a few. Eboni Funderburk is a force to be reckoned with. Thank you for stopping by Faye's Place, Ms. Funderburk. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm saying welcome to myself and saying thank you for having me. Oh, Lord.
No worries, no worries. So take us back to 5-year-old Eboni growing up. I think it was Raleigh, North Carolina, right?
Yeah,
Was
you
it?
did your research.
What did
I
she
don't blame
become? What did she dream of becoming?
Oh my gosh, at 5 years old, I can remember already loving music. My grandparents, I stayed with my grandparents for much of my early childhood. My mother was an actress, so she was on the road a lot. She toured all over the world as an actress. And so I stayed with my grandparents in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they had bought me as an early birthday gift, like a little kid, a piano. And I would get on that piano and just bang my little heart away. I don't even know if I was forming good sentences or not, but I would just be on that piano, just going at it, just singing to the top of my lungs. Um, and so much so that when my grandmother thought it was so entertaining. So when she would have friends come over, she would like, Ebony, get on the piano. And I just, I don't even know what I was saying, but I think they were just so tickled with me being on that piano. And I think that's where, at a very early age, I was a part of the Sunbeams choir and at my church. And then I moved up to the Weavers young adult or youth choir. I'm sorry, and I've always been a part of church music, and for me, that has been a saving grace for me. That was my outlet, and it was the music really did, even at a very young age, the lyrics and things what we would sing about would be very, very close to my heart. I believed it, and I believe that God had His hand on me, even when circumstances were very tumultuous. So, yeah, music's always been a part of my life.
That's wonderful. After being let go from the leading Christian lifestyle and gospel music publication at the time, which was called Gospel Today and
Mhm.
Gospel Industry Today, how did you find the motivation to keep going?
Well, I mean, I think gospel today and gospel industry today was like a rites of passage for a lot of us in the music industry. You'd be surprised how many people worked at that magazine that went on to do some really great things. So it's just a rites of passage for me. It was a lot of work, but when I graduated from Hampton University, my major was broadcast journalism. So I was trained in writing. I was trained in the broadcast side as well. And I trained at the radio station, believe it or not. I was on WHOV 88 point, I think it's 1 FM. I was on air there. I did the news, and also I did the Sunday morning gospel show. So Gospel Today and Gospel Industry Today was really like my first job in the music industry. I was recommended to Dr. Teresa Harrison as the receptionist. I took the receptionist job. I was trying to get my pinky toe in the music industry. And then once she saw that I had writing skills and I could formulate some great sentences, she started putting me on writing articles. So I wrote a lot of articles and got to meet a lot of artists. And one of the most impactful interviews that I did was with the group called oh gosh, I was getting ready to say the name, Mary Tiller Woods. They did a song called For the Sake of the Call, Anointed. There you go. It was with Anointed. And one of the things they said to me, because I was still trying to break into the music industry. So I came to Nashville, Tennessee. This is a long way of telling you how I felt. I came to Nashville, Tennessee, thinking I was going to be an artist. I was going to be a singer. And so I had my little demo tape. It was meeting with people. My aunt my aunt who lives here. I have some family that lives here. Had a really dear friend whose husband was the president of Warner Country. You know, white folks. Now I'm trying to do black gospel. So she
Right.
was like, you should go and sit down with him. And they set up a meeting with him. I mean, that's a really big deal to think about now. But then I was like, I'm not trying to do country music. Why am I doing this? But girl, if I could talk to my younger self, I went to I went to meet with him. He heard my demo tape. He said at that time there was a Warner Gospel ran by Demetrius Alexander. And he was like, let me set up a meeting with her with you. And so I went and sat with her, played my little demo tape. And she's like, well, you need a job. And so she introduced me to Dr. Teresa Hairston. And that's how I got the job at Gospel Today and Gospel Industry Today. And I worked there for about 6 months. The work was grueling. It wasn't enough staff. And eventually heads butted or whatever, and she let me go. And that was the first job I've ever gotten fired, and the only job I've ever gotten fired from, matter of fact. But but I
Wow.
felt like it was a rites of passage. It was like, if you
Hmm.
can make it through that, you can make it anywhere. Your work ethic had to be up. You were always on call. You've got deadlines, and you had to get deadlines completed regardless how many hours you worked at it or how late you had to stay up wee early hours of the morning. But from there, my aunt gave me some really great advice because I didn't know how to handle being fired, right? It was like I said, my first time being fired, my only time being fired. I pride myself on being a very hard worker. Workaholic is not great to say. But she gave me some great advice. She was like, always leave a place on good terms. And so I thanked Dr. Teresa Hairston for hiring me and allowing me to work at her magazine, which I wish we had outlets like that still today. Um, and I will say, like 3 months later, she invited me to rejoin Gospel Today magazine. But by that time, I was like, I'm good. It was too much work and it was very stressful. But I learned a lesson about leaving jobs well, leaving
That's
on good
great.
terms,
Hmm.
because you never know. People don't stay in positions. They move up, they move out, they go to someplace else, and you're thought about, and you're considered and say, hey, that Eboni Funderburk might be a good person for this job over here that we're looking for. And ironically, that after I was working at Verity, that's how I got to EMI Gospel. Someone I worked with at Verity went to EMI Gospel, Larry Blackwell as vice president, and they needed someone to run their radio promotions department, and he thought about me and another person, but eventually I was the one that was hired. So, you know, there's always leave a job well. The same people you see on your way up are the same people you could potentially see on your way down. So make sure you treat everybody well. That's the lesson I learned.
Oh, that is amazing. Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. You took a leap of faith in 2008, launching your own business,
Yes.
EFG Promotions and Consulting, coming off the huge success of Never Would Have Made It by Marvin Sapp, which became the longest running number one song across radio formats. What lessons have you learned about being an African American woman in this industry?
One thing I would say, working at Verity Records, as the first record label I worked at, was a huge privilege. It was a all black staff. Um, well, let me take that back. There were a couple of other, there was a handful of other people, but it was a majority African American staff. And so you get the benefit of being in an environment where people get it. People get the culture, people get the experience, people get the faith. And even if they weren't, say, a Christian, because, there's people that work in all kinds of spaces that don't really associate, they respected it. And I had the privilege of being in that. I think it's like going to an HBCU before you go anyplace else. You get the benefit of really being around your culture and getting a certain level of pride and respect and knowing and grounding of who you are in this space. So when I branched out on my own in 2008, I did it afraid. But I knew it was something that the Lord told me I was supposed to do. It didn't make sense because, as you said, we were coming off of Never Would Have Made It, which was made history at that time and on Nielsen BDS as the longest running number one single on any format. We made history, and it was a gospel song. And so it was really interesting leaving, because why would you leave, right? You're at the top of your game, and these are places for upward mobility. But this is what the Lord told me to do. And with that, I don't think I really understood the challenges that would come with being a black woman in this space. I would say even more a woman rather in this space, because I work in gospel, so it's a majority black people, but a woman in this space, there are challenges, and um, there are opportunities for people to take advantage, try to take advantage. So you have to know who you are, why you're called to this space, and understand that, you have to answer to a higher calling. You have to answer. I will never forget, I was on a 21-day prayer, and one of the days the Lord tapped me basically on my shoulder and said very sternly, I feel like I heard it audibly, I am the CEO. You work for me. And at first I thought I had done something wrong. Oh Lord, did I do something wrong? Did I do? But I think he wanted to reinforce the fact that everything you do in a business that he has given to you has to honor him in it. If he gives you the business and he gives you the prosperity and the know with all and the knowledge and the work ethic and the reputation, then you have to honor him in that. So when I would be confronted as a woman, as a not ugly woman in this space, I hope the women that hear me are understanding what I'm saying. I
Right.
had to learn
Right.
how to respond to that in a way that was dignified, in a way that still had me holding to my integrity fast. And then people understood, don't try me like this, bro. We're not doing that. Sometimes you learn to laugh it off. Sometimes you get a little sinister. I mean, cynical rather, not sinister. And sometimes sometimes you cry. Because it's hard being a woman in this space, in a male dominated industry. And then when you start adding other layers to it, once you're going outside of gospel, you're dealing with the African American part of it. And black women are like number one target. We're too smart. We're leading in entrepreneurship. We're leading in education, in higher education. We're brilliant people. We were taking jobs that, maybe historically that went to white men. So we become public enemy number one in these kinds of spaces. And even though I'm in gospel and I work EFG Promotions, I deal with people outside of our community all the time. I deal with people in Christian spaces all the time, and that does not look majority black. And you have to take into account also the atmosphere of what we're dealing with right now, and the interpretation of what Christianity is, because there's several different levels of interpretation of Christianity, many of which are cults, and I'll be very honest with that. Um, so it becomes very challenging. You have to stay on your face. You have to be in your word, because you need to know how to rightly divide the word. And you
Amen.
have to
Amen.
lean in to hear what God is saying, because he's going to tell you strategically where you need to be. And if you're there strategically, and you're there for purpose, and you're there for, because he's very intentional about you and intentional about the business that he's given to you to steward, and he's very intentional about you being in this space and who he's called you to be in this space. Because my favorite scripture is Psalms 139:16, I believe it is, that said, before one breath was taken, all of my life was written out in your book. Like, he already knew your beginning to the end. He knew what you were going to do. He knew everything you were going through. He knew what the process. He knew I was going to get fired from Gospel Today magazine. But he knew that was going to lead me to Verity Records.
Amen.
And then Verity was going to lead me to EMI. And then EMI was going to lead me back to Zamba. And Zamba was going to lead me to a place where he said, I need you to start EFG Promotions and Consulting. And when he said that, it was audibly clear. And it was with such urgency. And I did it. And I remember doing it afraid and saying, Lord, I don't know how to run a business. And I got you. Before I resigned from my job at Zamba, I already had my first client with EMI Gospel. It was already set up.
I love it. I love it.
These are things, when you're thinking about what the challenges are being an African-American woman in this space, it comes with the territory. And some of that challenge is because you're called. That's what some of that challenge is. So, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Besides music, we also share a love for movies. What are some movies or a movie you could talk about for an hour unprovoked? What's one of your favorites?
I'm definitely, especially in this AI universe, oh my gosh, I feel like the Black woman who wrote Terminator in the Matrix series, well, not in the Matrix series, but Matrix definitely. Terminator was her creation. I don't know if you've seen this. Y'all go Google it. Black woman, I forgot her name, but you can Google it. She'll come up, and she talks about the Terminator is the prequel to the Matrix. She talks about Neo is like the grandson of what's the guy from the Terminator that they were coming after? They were coming after his mom to get him. But anyway, I could talk about that all day long because I feel like it was a prophetic story. Because we're actually watching a lot of this start to unfold with AI now. We talk about AI in music, right? Because people are using AI to create artists, which I do not agree with. I do believe AI can be used as a tool, but it should not be used to replace the people that it used to train on. How about that part? But I do feel like we should all go back and watch it and learn some lessons because we're actually seeing this stuff happen real time and it's pretty scary. I can watch Coming to America all day. You don't have to. I know every darn line in Coming to America. Oh my gosh, what's love got to do with it? One of my favorite movies. I'm a big Tina Turner fan. I'm a big Whitney Houston fan. So
yes, me too.
Everything. I mean, I have consumed everything Whitney Houston. I've been so fascinated with her life. And her struggle and journey. She knew Jesus. I believe she's in heaven. But just that demon of addiction and what it can do. And we did not know she was a functioning addict, which is crazy to me. But I do think that also speaks to where the music industry was at that time. They really created and took time to really mold and create certain kinds of artists and this forward projection of this America's good girl, the girl next door type thing. And then to find out it's crazy to me. The Temptations movie, the 5 Heartbeats movie.
I love it.
I mean, I'm going to get you, sucker. I know people like, huh? Yeah. Hollywood Shuffle. I could quote whole scenes from these movies. But I am such a movie buff. But I also am into all of the Alien series. My biggest genre is sci-fi. So I watch a lot of sci-fi. Anything sci-fi, you're going to get me jumping in, thus The Matrix and Terminator. So,
do you have an idea for a business, but bringing it to fruition seems so overwhelming? Look no further. Embolden Consulting is a strategy and creative consulting agency that turns bold ideas into thriving ventures. When rebranding my podcast Phase Place, I needed direction and someone who gets it, who gets me. I tried Emboldened Consulting and was not disappointed. The results I received showed that there was close attention to detail and gave me insight of what I needed to make my business work. You have the vision. Let Emboldened Consulting help you execute the dream. Their services include strategic messaging and branding development, operational strategy, project management, and marketing campaign design. Email Jodi Iyamu at emboldenconsulting.com. That's JODIIYAMU at emboldenconsulting.com to set up your consultation today. Use the code PhasePlace to receive a free consultation. Pursuing your dream is hard enough. You might as well look good while you're doing it. Like I always say, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do good. Embodied Apparel is all about doing good for the community. It provides quality statement apparel and opportunities for firsthand social and civic engagement. My favorite part is not only are the t-shirts soft and comfortable, but they are printed by Turn 90, which is a nonprofit that provides therapy and job placement to men creating a new direction after prison. Now that's a dream I can get behind. Shop now at embodiedapparel.com, and for a 10% discount on your purchase, please use the code PhasePlace. For those aspiring to be in radio promotions, branding, and marketing, what advice would you offer?
Don't do it.
I love
Sorry.
I love this.
Stay out. Do something else, child. Okay, so I'm going to say this. There's probably three things that I can say. From the executive side of the fence. Know your history. If you're moving it into any genre, you need to know the history of that genre. You need to know the history of gospel. If you're trying to get a gospel, you need to understand the evolution of gospel music in this space, where it's come from, the golden age, because we had a golden age and people don't seem to remember that.
I remember.
Strange to me. Okay, right. So, we had platinum records and gold records. I've got plaques on my wall. I have plaques at home. I've got, I know what the heyday of gospel looked like. I'm one of this Gen X thing, that's my generation. We know the best of everything and the worst of everything because we're like in that middle transition road. So when I came in, to Verity Records, it was the heyday of gospel. We were putting out wild gospel going platinum at shipping, right? Or gold at shipping. Like that's 500,000 or $1 million. So, I mean, these are things that, gospel music was so rich. And I do believe that's part of the reason why when you look at the music that's streaming, even on streaming platforms, right now, so much of it is catalog. So much of it is music from the 90s and early 2000s and late 80s. So, I mean, I would suggest, number one, know your history. Two, before you jump into a music industry as an executive, learn the music industry. Learn what publishing is. Learn what metadata is. Learn management, learn business management, and learn touring. Learn, I cannot stress that enough. People are jumping in because they're good at understanding algorithms, but music industry is failing on algorithms. We need to learn how to touch the people. That's what makes the difference. The human people. Not the AI people and the bots. I mean, I could go down this whole road. But yeah, learn the business. Learn the business. And number three, I would say you're not the star. The artists that you're curating in this space are where the forward focus should be. Not you competing with the artists to be stars. Not you competing with the artists on your socials. That's not what it's not about. Being in the industry, it's not about positioning you in that way. Although people have benefited from that, what we think is success, but we really don't know if it's success or not because people love to project and, have these perceptions of success. And behind the scenes, you're learning they're crooks, they're broke. We could say a lot of things. But I came up in a season where executives were executives. You didn't really see the executives, but you saw the artist. I came up in a Jazzy Jordan, Tara Griggs McGee. Um, who else was in there? Jeff Grant. There's so many people I can name. Clyde Duffy. Some of these people you might have heard their names, but sometimes you didn't know what they looked like. Max Siegel. You know what these people look like? That's because they weren't trying to be like. They made the big bucks, but they understood that this was about the platform, the music, the artist. And a lot of us just are not, they're not catching that. And I do feel like the creatives are suffering as a result of that. And then the last thing I would say is integrity is Trump. If you don't have integrity in this space, if you don't, if you have you get the platform but don't have the character, sir, ma'am, you're going to cause more damage than do good. And we're not. I know a lot of times we're siloed in these spaces, but ironically, what we do in these spaces really do impact the entire community. So it's important that in your space, you're operating in integrity. And if this is what God has called you to, you remember that the CEO is really Yeshua, not you.
Amen. I love that. I love that. Now, personally and professionally, what are you currently dreaming up?
Ooh, creating platforms. I'm all about platforms now, making sure that we have spaces that gospel can get the exposure that it needs to have in order to reach the people that it's supposed to reach. And we're just really short on platforms these days. So that is like my dream is in 5 years to be a multimillionaire and funding platforms. That's my goal.
Well, we're believing God with you for that. We are. Are there any projects that you want us to be on the lookout for? And how can people reach out to you or follow you on social media?
Oh my gosh, there's a myriad of projects. But check out some of the artists that support your gospel artists, guys. I would say stream the music, but if they're selling merch, if they're selling CDs and stuff like, support them that way as well. Jump on their socials, let them know that that you like the music, encourage them, because I think a lot of creatives are getting very discouraged in this season. I'm working on projects with Fred Hammond, Keith State, and Marcus Cole. We've got some new music dropping there. Of course, Jacqueline Carr. We've got new music coming from CeCe Winans, Darwin Hobbs, Isabel Davis, a few others that I can name that I'm working with right now. I've got some other stuff coming on the horizon with a business I'm just starting called the Clear Creative Agency. So we'll be dealing with label services. And again, when I'm talking about educate yourself, sometimes we have a lot of indie artists coming into this space. Sometimes they don't know where to start. So be on the lookout for that. And if you want to reach out to me, you can always hit me up on my socials. And it's pretty easy. It's the Glamazon Mom. Yes, I'm a mother, proud mom of 2 college students. So that name has stuck with me for a while. So it's the Glamazon Mom, TheGlamazonMon. And I'm on Facebook, Instagram, specifically. That's where you're going to find me the most. So if you hit me up in my DMs, I'll usually respond as long as I see them. And then you can also hit me up at EFG Promotions on Instagram as well. And then I can forward you my information. And, if there's some projects you want me to listen to or some advice you want me to give, I'm always there for that.
Thank you, Ms. Funderburk, for coming and stopping by Faye's Place. You are always welcomed.
My pleasure.
And to our listening audience, make sure you tune in next Monday where we will have a brand new episode with you in mind. I love you all for listening. This podcast episode was recorded with Riverside. Hi friends, it's Phaedra, and you are listening to Faye's Place. Join us each week as we talk to industry insiders about their journey and what it takes to turn dreams into a reality. Whether you aspire to be in the entertainment field or just inspired by the hustle, count this as your backstage pass. Join us every Monday for a brand new episode. And also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Faye's Place.